Hi, welcome to UBC's Master of Engineering Leadership Seminar. This afternoon we'll be discussing dependable software systems. This is a live session, so if you do have any questions that you would like answered, I do recommend writing them in the comments section below. We will attempt to answer all questions as soon as they come in. However, if we don't get to your question today, please make sure you check back in because we will be responding to all queries at the end of this event. Today we are joined by Dr. Philippe Croshton and our current student Amit Singh. I'd like to pass over to you, Dr. Croshton, and just give us a brief overview of what is the course, what is dependable software systems all about?
Okay, so there's software everywhere. We have software in our watches, in our phones, in our cars, in our buildings, in our rooms, in our locks, in software everywhere. And we need to have software that we can depend on. By depending on, what do I mean? We need to have software that is doing the right thing, that is accurate, software that is available 24/7, software that is reliable, that doesn't crash and reboot and reset all the time, software that is safe, software that doesn't endanger anybody, and software that is secure, that is not, able to be tampered by any person who has some form of continuous access to it. So this pillar, this part of the Master of Engineering Leadership focuses on dependable software system, techniques, tools to build, design such systems. And we are expecting students who already know about software. So this is not a program to transform you from some other discipline into a software engineer. You need to come to that program with preferably an undergrad degree in a related field, computer engineering, software engineering, computer science, and bring also some concrete experience of software development. Software development is, despite the term computer science, not much of a science, but it relies a lot on practical experience. And we want students who can bring their own perspective and experience to actually benefit from the course, but also contribute to some extent to some of the courses themselves.
Thank you very much for that overview. And I'll pass you now, Amit. Are you able to tell us a little bit of how you came to be a part of the Dependable Software Systems program?
For me, it began with a journey of entrepreneurship. I was trying to set up a company in the field of education in India. And after working for 3 years, I realized that I need to have a degree where I can learn how to make an enterprise software which you can depend on, which companies can depend on, and which does not crash when the user is using it. So after struggling for 3 years, I realized, and then I applied for this course.
Wonderful. And I understand you had quite an extensive work experience before that as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I had 8 years of working experience in certain big companies. One of that is Cisco, so I was working there. And then I realized that I should probably do something in entrepreneurship because that was my interest.
Yep, fantastic. And what was your undergraduate degree in?
Information technology.
Wonderful. So you really are making sure that you're hitting all the preparation needed to enter this course. And just to elaborate on the program a little bit further, Dr. Croshton, there is a nice mix between technical skills and leadership skills. Can you expand on that a little bit further?
Okay, so yeah, about 40% of the courses are actually delivered by the business school. They deal with leadership management. There may be some optional aspect in entrepreneurship. They deal also with some tools to help in decision making, tools to do data analysis, data visualization, and that kind of thing. On the technical side, we have courses on software design for dependable system, on validation of such system, testing and other forms of validation, on computer security, on project management, and we cap that with some project that the students do in the second half of the course with a client in industry.
Fantastic. And how are you finding the the mix of different courses? I mean,
Um, the courses are well designed. So it's rightly said that 60% of technical courses and 40% of managerial courses. So that's the perfect mix, and I'm getting to learn uh, the dependable aspects of the software. At the same time, it was before this course, I was thinking that people skill is not that much required. But then when I'm working with groups on group assignments, I realize that these skills are very necessary to be in the corporation and be successful.
yep. So you're seeing real world application almost immediately, because how far into your course are you at the moment?
1/3 of it.
1/3. So, and you're already seeing those perfect alignments. Is that correct?
Yes. So first term itself introduced me to both the aspects, technical as well as management aspect.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. You mentioned very briefly that students are completing a capstone project. Can you tell us what is the capstone project?
So the capstone project, it's a way to put in practice some of the stuff that is in the classes. You know, there's only so much you can do in a classroom environment. So we solicit project from local industry, and students in group of 4 to 6 will work on this project on a very part-time basis from May till just before Christmas. To give you examples, last year the project was with MDA, a company which builds satellites, and it was about map management. I don't recall exactly the details. The year before, there was an application built for the nurses at the local hospital to do wound management. None of this project involved a lot of coding. That's not really the point, but stress some of the qualities that I emphasized, like safety, security, or just scalability or high availability of the systems. This year, I'm looking again at projects with the satellite company, MDA. I haven't seen their project yet, but are also working with a company that certified high safety systems, especially in the medical instrumentation field. So this gives students an opportunity to actually manage a project end to end. They work as if they were a little consulting firm. They are in contact directly with the customer. The prof, like me, is not doing the go-between. And they drive most of the aspect up to some kind of a proof of concept prototype, which they deliver to the client in industry.
Wow, fantastic. So industry is really helping shape the experience of the student in the course.
Actually, the program was designed with advisors from the local industry.
Oh, wow. Following on from that, I'm going to hand over to you, Amir. Obviously, there's a lot of application coming from industry, and eventually when you do get onto your capstone project, that's going to be invaluable. Where do you want to take your course when you complete? Where do you want to go once you've finished the degree?
After finishing the degree, I intend to work in the capacity of a project manager, or if I could find a job in the team of a team closer to a CTO.
Yeah.
So the idea is to learn the leadership aspect of software,
Yeah.
and manage software team to be to be uh, to be perfect. Like I would try to manage the software team which I would be working with to achieve better goals and better results each passing day.
Fantastic. And are you able to give us some insight, Dr. Philippe, where have the other students gone once they've completed?
Some have remained local here in Vancouver, even if they were not originally from Vancouver or the British Columbia. Some have returned to where they were working before. Some have created their own little company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And has that been done in conjunction with any other students, or has that been
the two cases I know, no, it was not with other students, or not that I know of. No.
Yeah.
actually no students from Dependable Software System. Maybe they ran into some other students from UBC, maybe some MBA student.
Yeah.
But I don't, that I wouldn't know.
No, fair enough. One of the questions we do get asked quite commonly is just regarding the application process. And while I'm able to talk to a little bit about that, I'd be really curious to understand your perspective. I mean, how did you apply for the program? And, tell me about the process.
Application process is pretty simple as compared to other countries. Like when I compare USA, you have to write another exam like GRE or GMAT. And in this case, applying for UBC was pretty simple, the application process. And most important aspect of the application was the letter of intent. I spent a lot of time formulating and writing it in a very consumable way, comprehensive way. So I did like more than four iterations on the letter of intent, and I think that is very important.
Yeah. Are you able to expand on that a little bit, Dr. Christian? What do you look for in that letter of intent?
Well, in a letter of intent, I look for what is actually your motivation to come to such a program. What are you going to do with such a degree? Are you at the right point in your career to do that step? Why do you want to come to UBC? Why do you want to come to Canada if you're not here already? I would also like to understand if there are some strange things in your life that would appear in your CV or in your transcript, some explanation. Some people may not have an undergrad degree in computer science, but may have accumulated enough knowledge and experience professionally. Or maybe you're a little bit short in experience, and I need to understand how deep and solid is that experience in software development. So explaining any strange gap that may be perfectly normal, but to the person that receives your application file is not obvious. I also look very carefully at the letters of reference. This is not just a mere formality where somebody says, yeah, great person, no worries. I actually pay a lot of attention to those letters. And if they are a little bit too generic, sort of, great person, no worries, that's not a very solid, convincing argument to take that person on board in that program.
So would you say that you'd really like whoever is the reference to be specific in why they would do well in the program?
It's nice to recognize in the letter of intent that the person has actually understand what the program is, and it's not the same letter of intent that you've sent generically to 16 other programs around the globe. For the reference, it's a good idea to inform your reference about the specific program you're applying to, so that the letter of reference doesn't look completely absurd. Oh, this would be a great student for your botany program.
I'd like to add to that. So dependable software system, the requirements that are mentioned on the website, that's very important to read through and understand well before you write your letter of intent. And that would help you identify whether this is the right course to apply for. And once you have decided that, then it would be a good initial stage that would help you to form your letter of intent, the content of your letter of intent.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a really good point. I would just like to reiterate for all those that have tuned in and maybe missed the start of our presentation. This is a live webinar, so if you do have questions, please comment in the section below. We are here and available and able to answer your questions. I would like to follow up actually on that admission stage, and I noticed that one of the admission requirements is coding. How important is that?
To enter this program, you need to have written yourself some code, and a significant amount of code, to understand really the issues behind software development. So on another hand, this is not a course where you will learn the ABC of writing code. Which programming language is a question people ask me very often. It doesn't really matter. If you know 2 or 3 learning a fourth one is a piece of cake. And most people nowadays come and they know some form of C, C++, Java, JavaScript, and maybe a few other ones more exotic, like Scheme or Lisp or something like that, or Scala. But some imperative language like C, Java, C++, C Sharp would be a very good asset. We have sometimes people who sort of say, oh yeah, but I'm a civil engineer and I love using computers. This would be the perfect opportunity for me to change career. Not really. Learning to code is not something that you can do in a few evenings in January during the first few weeks of this relatively intense program.
Yeah, fair enough. And in line with that, you have talked about how we do have a reasonably diverse student cohort. What does this student profile look like?
This year in DSS, we have quite a variety of people with a variety of experience. I think there's only 3 locals, meaning local people living in Canada before coming to this program. There's a lot of people who come from the Indian subcontinent and some from China. We don't have anybody from Europe this year. We had 1-2 years ago. People have between 3 and up to about 10 years in software development. Last year, we had somebody who had 15 years of software development and needed a break and needed a change of career.
Wow.
Is that an answer to your question?
That is an excellent answer to my questions. We do have a question coming through. Does the program cover topics related to DevOps?
No, not really directly DevOps. We speak about the software development process in the course about software project management, but there is no course about DevOps in itself. We speak about it in through the means of communication between a software project and its surroundings, the various stakeholders. We speak about that, but there is no course on DevOps itself.
Perfect. So we've learned a little bit now about what's involved in the course, and it is a 1-year intensive program. And I'm curious, how are you managing to balance the study and life aspects?
I would recommend a student applying for this course to build a habit of studying at least 8 to 10 hours every day. So once you are in a habit, it won't bother you once you are here. And if you don't have the habit, after first term, you'd have that habit.
Fair enough. That's an excellent answer. We have another question coming through. Is there much focus on embedded systems and RTOS systems?
Yes, because a lot of the dependable systems are actually in the field of real-time and embedded systems. But it's not just specifically on this topic.
Okay. And what do you think, if you could summarize it briefly, I guess, what are the real strengths of the program?
I think the key thing in this program is that it sits in sort of, it tries to combine the best of an MBA without being an MBA and an MEng without being just an MEng with a lot of technical stuff. It's that combination that is interesting. And past students that I'm still in touch with start really appreciating that when they're back into the workforce, this combination of both aspects. From a software perspective, it gives people a little bit more depth in the kind of tools that they can use to make choices about how to build a system.
Perfect. And is there any specific software that the students are learning while in the course?
No, we're not focusing on any specific technology or programming language or development environment. Actually, one of the things that the students have to do during the capstone project is to define for their group, based on their context and their circumstances, what is the right set of tools and programming languages and things like that that they want to use in conjunction with their industry partner, who may have actually more constraints than the students have.
Yeah.
But no, it's not something that is focused around using a certain predefined set of tools.
Yeah, and is there specific things that a student can do before coming into the course that might assist them in their studies? And this is probably a question for both of you.
Well, I didn't really think about that. No, I don't think there is anything specific. If English is not your first language, you may want to practice a little bit more. There'll be a lot of things to write, reports to write, and that kind of thing. That might be something that you don't want to wait until you land in Vancouver on a rainy January morning to start polishing your English. But from a technical perspective, no, I don't think there is anything special. Did you feel that there was something that you should have learned before?
For me, what did make a difference is the habit of writing. So yeah, I had a habit of writing, and I made sure that I practice it, because writing gives you the ability to think better, and also when you are submitting your responses for the assignments, it helps a lot and saves time.
Yeah, and just so that our students or prospective students listening are aware, there are English requirements for the course. All the details for that can be found in the eligibility criteria. We have our next question coming through for, sorry, is there a part-time option?
No, there's no part-time option at this point in time. And actually, I think you should not envisage working while doing this course. A few students have tried that in the past few years, and this turned out to be pretty disastrous for everybody involved. This is a master degree that you do in 1 year. It's already pretty dense like that, and I don't think that you can actually do it while trying to work. Spreading it over 2 years, we do not have this option at this time.
Yeah.
The courses are pretty set. In some schedule, you're following one single cohort. There's groups that are being formed. You cannot just pick and choose and assemble your course for the program over the spread of 2 years or more. So that's not an option at this point in time. One of the things that came up indirectly through a question, yes, I think that reading on a regular basis, trade publication, Harvard Business Review, Better Software Magazine, IEEE Software, or things like that might be pretty useful. I didn't think about that because for me it's a habit. I've been subscribers to those for 30 years. But that's maybe a good thing in answering the previous question about what to do before.
That makes sense.
A few things have subscription rates for students, or you can go and access them through local libraries in many places.
Makes sense. And as an international student moving over, how did you find the transition to Vancouver?
I had experience living in America before, so it didn't make a lot of difference for me. And other students who didn't have such experience, they are my friends, and I feel they are pretty much handling pretty well. They are not facing any difficulty. Yeah.
Fantastic. And we've talked a little bit about the course and everything that you're doing it. What are you actually doing on a day-to-day basis?
I'm reading a lot. Yeah. And to put down the understanding, I read and write it down and make sense out of it. That helps me fill the gaps in my understanding. So, yeah.
Makes sense. We've just had a question come through. What are our application deadlines? And I'm actually happy to field this one. So our next application deadline is June the 1st. So that is coming up fairly soon. What we do recommend to all students is get your application in as early as possible. We do have administrators here who are very happy to assist you with your application. We want to help you be successful. We want to help you get into the course that you would like to do. So get your application in early, and we can discuss any extra references or anything that might be required in order to help you be successful. We do have 2 later application dates throughout the year, the first of which is August 1st, and then the last, which is October 1st. But I would recommend don't leave it till too late. Get your application in as early as possible.
Especially if you need a visa to come here, don't aim at the later one, because by the time your application is processed, maybe you'll run out of time to get a visa, which is something that happened to a student this year.
There you go. An excellent insight. Additionally, we do have rules in place. So we will get back to you with the outcome of your application by the following month. So if you are applying June 1st, you would get a response whether you've been successful in your application by July the 1st. The next question we kind of have goes into the more leadership aspect of the program. And I understand, Amit, that when you're doing the leadership programs, you're not just in a class with the dependable software students, you're actually working with students from a variety of different courses as well. How are you finding that?
That's one important aspect which I did not realize earlier than this course. While working in this course, I realized that working in a group where people from a different academic discipline worked with you and putting your words across and listening to their ideas and deciding which idea to go with. So that group activity is much different than individual activity. And I realize that it's so important because in the corporation, when you're working, you're mostly working in a team. And this experience of working in a group project helps there a lot.
Fantastic. And how big is the actual current cohort at the moment?
80, I guess.
80 about, and in DSS you are 11.
Yes.
Cool. We do have our next question. What professional background or experience would an ideal candidate have?
Okay, so an ideal candidate would have worked about 3 years in software development, in a small project, in a medium project, in a very large project, but some direct involvement in the development of software. Which kind of companies, it doesn't really matter, large companies or small companies, doesn't really matter. Very tiny companies, that is, if you were the lone software developer, that might be a little bit more problematic because there's a lot of issues in software development that are actually of collaboration and communication in a team. And that if you're just the lone developer, you may not have enough experience there. But in terms of the kind of companies that are acceptable, any of them, hopefully some of them are, I can understand when I receive the thing, what kind of software you were involved in. That's precisely if you tell me you worked 3 years at IBM, you don't need to explain to me what IBM is or Google or a large bank. But if you work for some tiny company far from Vancouver, maybe your cover letter wants to explain a little bit what is your experience at that company. But in itself, it's not a problem.
One of the common questions we do get asked, and again, it comes back to applications and the type of student that we are looking for, is what are the GPA requirements for the program? And it is a 76% here in Canada, so 76% GPA. And if that is something that you are unfamiliar with, we do have conversion calculators online. You can jump onto UBC and just Google GPA conversion calculator, and you'll be able to work it out from there. Are there any instances where you might look past this?
If somebody has a lot of experience and has learned a lot about software development, let's say in working for 10 years in a big telecom company that I can recognize, the fact that 11 years ago their GPA was not that great, well, we can overlook that.
Yeah, so it really does come back to the experience that an individual has in the industry.
I would say some of the background education can be compensated by more experience, more relevant experience.
Yeah, perfect. And for you, Amit, what have been the biggest challenges of the course?
Challenges of the course are fundamentally related to a heavy workload. So you should have the notion, you should have some previous thought in mind that how are you going to manage 4 courses at the same time in a term. And if you are organized with your studies, then it would help.
That makes perfect sense. Another question coming through is, what are the job prospects following the completion of the program?
In software specifically, there's a lot of opportunities in the Vancouver area. And if we extend a little bit also the Seattle area, which is just 2 hours drive south of here. So I don't think this should be a major issues. We have large organizations whose name you could recognize that are implanted here. SAP, Amazon, Microsoft, all implanted around here. Some other names that people may recognize are Hootsuite. There's also companies that are less known. I was mentioning the satellite company MDA, which also is the company that did the Canadarm, that arm that manipulate things in space. There's quite a few companies like that around town. Some people are also interested in the gaming industry. Electronic Arts, for example, has a big studio, as they call it, just in the suburbs of Vancouver.
Wonderful. And if you had any advice for students considering the course, what would it be? Is there a particular something that you wish you'd known before you started? And actually, I'll go to Amit first. Is there something that you wish you'd known about the course before you started that you'd like to tell anyone considering the program?
For anyone considering this program, it is important to understand that a professional in the corporation these days definitely needs to have people skill. So if you just have technical skill and you don't have people skill, corporate life would be difficult. So having that notion helps.
Perfect. Is there anything you wanted to add to that? He summed it up quite well, didn't he?
Yeah. So don't be the total nerd. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. I also would like to tell people this is not a program for male nerds only. Actually, I'm very pleased this year that we have almost half of the cohort in DSS who are female. So,
Fantastic.
And you know, I think our profession, you know, software development, needs more female participants. So I encourage women out there to apply.
Wonderful. One of the common questions we do get asked is regarding financial aid and scholarships. And it's one that I'm happy to field. What we do recommend for students who are looking into the program is to investigate local scholarships. So there are a variety of different organizations out there, and Dr. Philippe has mentioned a few of them that do offer scholarships in dependable software systems, in software engineering, and in a wide variety of different areas. And you might be surprised at how many you are actually eligible for. And they are industry specific. So it may come with a condition that you actually get to go back and work for that organization once completing your course. Whatever it might be, they do have specific requirements. But do investigate local industry for any opportunities that might be available as well. We have our next question coming through. Are there extracurricular and or professional development opportunities?
Okay, I'll tackle the professional developments. Yes, we organize a series of workshop, presentations, seminars that are totally optional, bringing some great person from industry to present and debate, doing things about, you know, I even participate outside of my course to the professional development, looking at how to manage meetings and that kind of thing. So there is a program like that organized. Students themselves, and I'll hand it over to Amit because I'm not involved, do organize things. Some are very specific to one of the discipline. Some may be more general across the whole cohort.
Yeah. So I really appreciate the professional development opportunities we get in the form of seminars and workshops. There are so many workshops that get organized every now and then. And apart from that, in order to understand Vancouver area, you might want to travel and talk to people outside the university. That I do, and it helps a lot to talk.
Wonderful. And you mentioned that you actually do bring in different speakers to speak to the cohort. Can you give us an example of who's come in to actually share their experience?
The professional development stream, I don't know who you had come to speak.
We had a seminar on public speaking,
Okay.
a seminar on writing, a seminar on networking. How do you network with people? How do you keep yourself out there so that people and potential job providers can notice you? So 4 events already I can count on my fingers. Yeah.
And they're in addition to just do your normal coursework, is that correct?
It's in addition to the normal course, yes.
Yeah. Our next question comes through. Should students live on campus? Can you live on campus? And I mean, are you actually living on campus? I haven't asked.
I'm not. I live 6 kilometers away.
Fantastic. And how are you finding it living off campus?
It doesn't make a lot of difference because bus service and the transit service is really available all the time whenever you need it. So coming to the university and going back home, it's very easy.
Perfect.
However, I would, if you can live close to the campus, considering that the program is pretty intense and you have to be here basically every day of the week, don't consider living, in a 2-hour bus ride from the campus. That will kill you. So last year I had a student living in Surrey. Okay, you don't know where Surrey is, you can check on a map. Well, after 6 months, he had to change his mind and try to live a little bit closer to the campus. Can you live on campus? That is a question I cannot answer personally.
I can field that one if you like. So yes, you definitely can live on campus. However, it is a separate application to the application for the program. So if you are interested in living on campus, please jump onto accommodation at UBC and you can apply there. However, it is very competitive. Places do fill very quickly, so don't leave it to the last moment either. If you are looking at studying next year into 2019, we recommend putting in an application as early as possible. We are coming towards the end of our session here, but I'd really like to take the time to thank Dr. Philippe and Amir for your input into today's discussion. I know I've learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience has as well. I would like to remind our audience that if you would like to connect with us further, you can register for our newsletter. So you can do that simply by clicking the contact us and filling out the form. Additionally, if you are living locally here in Vancouver or the Lower Mainland, we are having an open house coming up on May the 10th. That's an opportunity to come and ask your questions face to face. Come and meet the directors, come and meet the current students. We are here to help you. We want to help you get your answers for all the questions that you might have. So that's May the 10th at Robson Square. All the details are online. But thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to reviewing your application soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.